podcast number 4. We are back. What's been going on?
Not too much, man. It's been wild around here lately. Trump's changing some stuff.
Yep, there's been a lot going on politically. Did you by chance catch the news the other night when what they're calling one of the craziest trades in NBA history?
Oh,
with
man.
Luka and Anthony Davis. There were so many people talking about it that, I mean, it's just one of those things that you would never imagine those two would be involved in a trade.
Yeah, when I very first seen it, I thought it was fake.
Like, I was most like, people did.
There's no way that trade's real.
Yeah, until it finally came out on ESPN from like some really good sources, I think everybody thought it was fake.
Yeah.
I mean, you go from Anthony Davis is a two-way player. He's 31, going to be 32. You know, he's not playing. He's not giving you 70 games a year. He's
hurt all the time.
And then you have Luka Doncic, who's 25, set to get a supermax deal of excess of $330 million. And just out of nowhere, nobody knew. They didn't call LeBron. They didn't call anybody's agent until after it was done. It was just the Dallas GM, and I believe it's Rich Paul of the Lakers. He's a GM now. And under the table, they got a deal done.
Yeah, it said it was none of the coaches knew anything about it, none of the players. It was just between them two.
Yeah, and they were talking about that was probably the first trade in 21 years of LeBron being in the NBA that he didn't know about.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know how he would have felt about it if they would have went to him and asked him. Like, I keep seeing these analysts and stuff in the NBA that's trying to like rationalize this to where it was a good trade for the Mavs, but I just can't see it. Like, you got Luka, who was a 5-time All-Star, just took you the championship last year, didn't win it, but took you all the way to it. Injured. He was injured at that time, too. Took you all the way to the NBA championship. 5-time All-Star. He's 25 years old. He was the Euro MVP before he came over to the NBA. Like, you can't get a lot more accomplished than what he is at 25.
He's an international superstar, so that makes him automatically box office. You know, he's been in the NBA now, I believe it's 6 or 7 years. 5 times now in a row he's been on the first team All-NBA team.
Yep.
You know, he's like we've said, he's 25 years old. He's set to get the Supermax deal, and they trade him for a two-way, which he doesn't play defense. You know, he's out there to score the basketball and facilitate.
I'm pretty sure he's got a scoring title already, too.
And he could have. I'm not too sure on that, but it was so mind-blowing. I don't think anybody – like, I was still up whenever the news broke, and I shared it to my Instagram. It was like, what the hell just happened? And I think that's kind of how everybody was feeling.
Yeah, and this deal is actually – it's been a really bad thing for Luka financially. So not being able – he's no longer eligible for a Supermax contract, and that is going to cut him out of $116 million. And that's insane.
And you got to throw into account, you know, he's leaving from Texas and he's going to California where they're getting ready to raise the taxes to like 13%. So, I mean, financially, he's getting the shaft.
Yeah, he might have, he's going to have more room in LA for endorsement deals and stuff like that. So he'll make more money there doing that. And I mean, it's not like he's hurting for money. I mean,
yeah,
but when you talk about that kind of money, that's a big deal.
Yeah, and you know, I don't know if the endorsement deals are going to offset how much he's going to lose.
I don't think it can.
I don't either, unless they, I guess, start winning some championships here pretty soon. I don't personally see that.
Yeah, I mean, at his age, what he's done so far, I mean, if he wins a few championships, he might go down to the top 5 player of all time.
Yeah, I mean,
like, it's very possible.
Right now, he's got a career in the NBA alone. I mean, he's averaging over 28 a game.
Mm-hmm. He's been hurt, too. He hasn't been playing.
I mean, both AD and Luka are going to get you in the 60s. Mm-hmm. They're going to, whether it's 69 to 60 games a year, That's what they've kind of proven that their bodies can handle, and that kind of leads into the topic. I'd heard that there's been some scrutiny against him on, he doesn't show up when the season starts in shape. He shows up and gets in shape as the season starts, and there's been a lot of, there's a video, and I'll try to get it up on here, but there was a video of him last year. They just won the conference finals, and they were going to the NBA finals, and he had a beer in his hand, and somebody from the Mavericks organization come over and took the beer out of his hand.
That's ridiculous.
It is. He's 25 years old. If he wants to have a drink after a damn game, but they just don't see him as dedicated. He doesn't, and it kind of speaks for itself. He's not dedicated enough for his, putting enough work into his body to be able to last a full NBA season.
Yeah, nobody knows him as much as the Mavericks do. I mean, they see all the stuff behind the scenes.
Yep.
So I heard that right now he's 270 pounds, which I'd seen where it makes him the fourth heaviest player in the NBA. He's a point guard. He's pretty big right now. So and he's only 25. So if you're already having weight issues at 25, maybe this move will make him kind of dedicate himself to getting in better shape.
Well, he's going to play with LeBron, who's been doing it for a long time. I think that's kind of what the Lakers are hoping for, is he can kind of learn from LeBron on how he takes care of his body, because there's nobody in NBA history who's taking better care of their body.
Exactly, yeah. I mean, LeBron is just a freak. He was blessed with, better genes than almost anybody on the planet. But maybe he can get him, change his mindset on a couple things. And
yeah, I mean, they're talking about Luka right now. He's listed at 230, and kind of like you were saying, I've heard anywhere from 260 to 270 what his weight is. I mean, he's 6'8", 6'9". I mean, he's a big guy, but
he's thick built too.
Just kind of like the deal Charles Barkley had to go through. I believe it was Moses Malone who pretty much told him that, if you don't lose weight, you're a fat ass. If you don't lose weight and get in shape, you're never going to be a great player. And we're seeing the same thing with Zion Williamson in New Orleans.
Well, you got to think, when you're 25, that's at an age where you're not used to having to do anything or watch what you're eating or drinking, or you don't have to watch any of that stuff, just because you're at the age where your body just can metabolize stuff so fast that you stay in decent shape. But at 25 years old, that stuff starts catching up with you. And he could the dude's a winner. You can't argue that. And I feel like he's probably going to do whatever it takes to win.
I mean, he's going to have to. He's going to have to make a choice, and I hope this is kind of a wake-up call for him to kind of pretty much give the middle finger to the Mavericks organization.
Yeah, it might fuel him even more.
I mean, hopefully it does something, because, we've never really seen a player like him. Obviously, he's offensively heavy and doesn't really put much, effort into the defensive side. But if he can get around some guys that can kind of, I guess, mentor him a little bit, and
what better can you get than LeBron right now in the NBA? He's the best at that. He's proven by example.
Yeah, there's nobody better than him. But what do you think as far as, a trade? What letter grade would you give the Lakers on this trade, and what letter grade would you give the Mavericks?
Oh, the Lakers is an A++. I mean, one of the greatest trades in NBA history, in my opinion, as far as what they got. They got a perennial all-star for the next 10 years. The dude is just a stud. Like I said, potential top 5 player of all time if he wins some championships. I don't know how they could have got a better player. Who in the NBA could they have got that's better right now? At his age, what he's already accomplished, what he's shown so far, it's as good as you get, in my opinion.
Now, 100%. I mean, you're exactly right.
I don't know. I don't see the fit with LeBron being great. They're both ball dominant, but the thing about that is LeBron is getting to the point in his career where maybe it is time for him to be a little bit less of a ball handler and be more of a role player. I mean, he can still have a huge impact. It might make him even better
Yeah, I mean, playing off the ball, because right now, everything's going through him. He's dribbling the ball up the court every time. Maybe this is going to help him, kind of like in the finals with Kyrie. We didn't know if they were going to be able to play together, and they finally started to figure out, or hell, even Dwayne Wade.
Yeah, and he has played with some all-stars like that before where, he can kind of set back and let other people take over.
Yeah.
But, I mean, Luka's probably one of the most ball-dominant players ever. Like, he is always wants the ball in his hand. So, but like I said, it could be great for LeBron, too, and it could give him even more longevity than what he already has.
Yeah, and then jumping over to the Maverick side, I almost kind of give them I think letter grade, I got to give them a B+ or A-, because if you think about if Anthony Davis can stay healthy, he just had, his last game that he played before he got injured again, he had 40 and like 12. I think.
He's been a stud this year, and he's a two-way player. I don't know, and I think the fit with Kyrie is perfect. Like, it is a great fit. But
you got Klay Thompson as well.
Yeah, Klay Thompson. I mean, he's basically a 3-and-D guy now. He's older, but you need those on every team, and he's about as good as there has ever been. So, I mean, it is a good fit for right now, but for it to be a good trade for the Mavericks, I think they have to win a championship in the next 2 or 3 years.
Yeah, next 2 or 3 years for sure.
Because not only is AD gonna, in 3 or 4 years gonna be getting up there in age, but so's Kyrie. Like, I'm not sure how old Kyrie is, but he's been in the NBA for quite a while too.
Yeah, and I mean Klay Thompson as well. Mm-hmm. They're all in their 30s. Klay and Kyrie's probably mid to late 30s. I would have to guess at this point.
Yeah, it's kind of like the Mavs have just kind of pushed all their chips in, onto the table and betting on this next 2 or 3 years.
Yeah, I mean this trade pretty much solidifies that they want to win now.
Yeah, and that's okay too. I mean, if you have the chance, take that shot. I mean, for sure. I agree.
And, AD, it's been a few weeks ago now. He came out and said, he wants to play the 4. That the Lakers need to go get a center or a 5, and it was just crazy that he kind of made that statement that he needs somebody. And the next thing you know, he's gone.
Now they have no big guys.
And the Mavericks, they have 2 centers, and AD is going to be playing that stretch 4 position, kind of like where he excels at, because, I mean, he can guard a point guard, he can guard a center. He's one of the best two-way defenders we've probably ever seen in the NBA, just on how he can guard outside just his position. But can they make it work? Can everybody stay healthy? And I know it's like that with every team. Right now OKC is the number 1 seed right now in the West.
They're just so deep.
Well, and they're young too. They've got a lot of young players that they all play really well together. But if you have a healthy AD, Kyrie, and Klay Thompson, you can't count them out.
No, that's a pretty good squad right there.
I mean, that's top tier squad there if they're all healthy.
Yeah, I think the Lakers won this trade, in my opinion. I mean, you just don't get an opportunity to get players like Luka very often. So Rob Pelinka, if he was given the opportunity, you got to pounce on that. I mean, I'm not sure how long AD had left on his contract in LA, but he could have been gone in a couple years too.
Well, it wasn't going to be $339 million or whatever Luka was set to get.
Yeah.
Now they're going to be able to pay him, like you said, $116 million less on a 5-year deal.
Yeah.
That's insane. And they were talking about, one of the analysts was talking about, Luka just closed on a $12 million mansion down in Texas, and AD actually just closed on a $32 million mansion in L.A., and now they're going to be going up for sale.
Yeah, I know that Luka was really involved in the cities down there too, in Dallas. So I think he really didn't want to go. I think he was planning on retiring there. Like he wanted to be with that organization forever. And in the NBA, you never know. But
well, and that's what his statement said.
It's got to be tough on him. There's going to be a adjustment period, I'm sure.
But I mean, if you were in his position, or if you were just a first-team All-NBA player, those guys are kind of the untouchable guys. Like those are the ones that you're not going to get traded. What do you think? Rob Pelinka, is that the guy with the Lakers?
Yeah, that's their owner.
What do you think the phone call was like whenever the GM for the Mavericks called and was like, "Hey, would you be interested in Luka Doncic?"
He was probably shitting his pants. He'd be like, "Hell yeah!"
I mean,
he was probably trying to play it cool, but like, I'm sure he was excited.
I'm sure he probably thought it was a joke.
I mean,
at the beginning,
if you think about the Lakers, they have so many great players that's been through that organization, and they kind of need that to stay relevant. And they just made the trade to make that happen. They will be relevant for the next 10 years. Because Luka's the kind of guy, like, you can put some average NBA players around him, and he's going to take you to the playoffs, and go on a run, possibly.
Yeah, and with him, like you said, you've got 10 years, if not more. If he can start taking care of his body the way it needs to be taken care of, you got 10 plus years of, and that's one thing that there's a lot of organizations that were pissed off because it seems like the Lakers always get that top guy or one of the top guys.
Yeah, I've seen a couple posts talking about, was this a planned deal to keep the Lakers relevant by the NBA, because the NBA is, their ratings have tanked and they're, not getting great ratings. So is this something that has kind of brought more attention back to the NBA? I mean, it definitely has. People are going to tune in to watch LeBron and Luka play together.
It's box office.
It's great for everybody.
You've got two box office guys there. Yeah, and Luka, he put out a statement. He pretty much says that Dallas made him feel like a home away from home. And he said, as I start the next part of my basketball journey, I'm leaving a city that will always feel like a home away from home. And he just says Dallas is a special place, and Mavs fans are special fans. Thank you from the bottom of my heart.
Luka, you got to think about, too, Luka turned pro at like 13, 14 years old.
He was a teenager when he came into the league.
Yeah, over in Europe.
Yeah.
He turned pro at like 13, 14 years old. So I've watched a documentary about it, and he had to leave his home and stayed by himself basically while he was a pro there. So since he was that age, he's never really had like a stable place where it was, had that home feel. And he gets to Dallas and he's probably thinking, this is it. Like, this is what I've been looking for. This is my home. And then wake up one day, oh, you're going to LA. It's going to be tough for him.
Oh, for sure. And it's going to be there's going to be a lot of growing pains. I know they play. LA plays the Mavericks here coming up tail end of February. He's going to try to go for 70.
Oh God, yeah, he's gonna
be like, just give me
He's
the
gonna
ball.
be shooting that rock. You ain't got to tell him twice to shoot it.
Trying to show them what they're missing out on. I can't wrap my head around, because we never see anything like this where you have a perennial first team All-Star and Anthony Davis isn't box office. I mean, don't get me wrong, he's still a Hall of Fame player, but he's 31. You got a 25-year-old, and to make that trade work, I know there was a couple guys in the Utah Jazz were involved, and one first-round pick that the Lakers gave up. They had another one, so I look for them to probably go get another guy or two. But it's just so.
AD he's a top 10 player in the NBA, pretty much every year. But Luka has the chance to be the MVP every year. Like, there is a difference there.
Yeah, I don't know. I think what the Lakers have now, they obviously don't have a rim protector, so I think it's going to be really hard for them. I'm anxious to see how LeBron and Luka kind of figure it out. If LeBron stays, what if he leaves?
Yeah, I think they might limp into the playoffs too. I mean, they're not going to be a great team this year. Unless stuff starts clicking, I mean, you never know.
And if they pick some other key pieces up.
I think they talked that there's still some possible trades out there that they're looking to make. So
yeah, there's two or three days left, I think, till the trade deadline.
Have you heard anything about how LeBron feels about it yet? Is there any statements or anything?
I know he released something about, to AD saying pretty much good luck.
Yeah, I know they were really close.
Because they have the same agent. That's kind of how AD got to LA in the first place.
I don't know how, like, if you're LeBron, you have to be kind of excited about getting to play with Luka, though.
But are you pissed off that nobody confronted you about it?
And he's used to running teams like that.
Well, the thing about it is players have gotten they've gotten so much more power here really ever since LeBron went to Miami.
Yeah.
That's kind of when the whole thing started, because then that was kind of the start of
Super
the super teams. And I would think, as a GM or owners of basketball teams now, you probably love the trade, even though you're not getting Luka Doncic, because it happened in the front office. Nobody else had any. There was no player negotiating, so maybe they're going to get a little bit more power back, and they're going to be able to do what they want to do.
That's really how it should be. The players play, the owners and the GMs, they need to be setting that stuff up. I don't think it should be ran through the players.
Well, I mean, look what's going on in Miami right now with Jimmy Butler.
Yeah, that is a disaster.
That's a mess.
That guy is a cancer.
He really is.
I know he's a good player, but I can't stand that dude.
They're trying to get him to Phoenix. He only wants to go to Phoenix. I believe it was the Golden State Warriors offered him something, but he didn't want to sign an extension, guaranteed extension to go there.
The Golden State Warriors, I think their front office kind of wanted him, but after I seen Curry and Coach Kerr put out a statement that said that he didn't think he would fit in with the locker room.
Yeah, probably.
But I mean, where is he going to fit in with the locker room? He's proved over and over again that he doesn't. He's a weird. Like, have you seen interviews? Like, he's a weird guy. He's a little bit different.
He's a little different. Hell of a basketball player.
Great, yeah.
But what he's doing in Miami, I don't know what's transpired down there, and I really don't know what's transpired in Dallas. Did you see the statement with the GM and Jason Kidd? Kind of like their interview when after all this happened, Jason Kidd was pretty much just sitting there not saying anything.
Yeah, you could tell he was not happy.
I would say he was probably pissed.
Yeah.
And the GM pretty much said that, we're trying to build a culture here, and he thinks that the people they're bringing in is going to add to the culture, pretty much throwing shade at Luka.
Yeah.
They must not like him at all.
Yeah, there's going to be some stuff that comes out, I would say, eventually on what kind of happened between Luka and the ownership there. But that guy's, his name's Nico something, I think.
Nico Collins?
Nico Collins is a wide receiver in
NFL. He was on my fantasy team, for sure.
It's Nico something.
Nico Harrison.
There you go. Yeah, Luka was in store to get his Supermax is going to be the biggest contract in NBA history.
Like $69 million a year.
$345 million over a 5-year period. Now he's only eligible for $229 million for 5 years. $116 million gone.
So you got to think, okay, this guy is on a 2 to 3 year. I mean, if you're the owner of the company, because this guy's just a GM, if you're the owner and you have stakes in that team, you're going to be watching this guy, or you're going to be watching your team for the next 2 to 3 years. If you don't win a championship, I almost think, and Luka has some success in LA, you almost think this guy's got to step down or get fired.
Yeah, he definitely rolled the dice.
This is a make or break you right here.
For sure. And I don't know. I don't like his odds.
I don't either. I just don't know how the hell you trade Luka Doncic. I really don't.
No.
It makes no sense to me.
I mean, Luka. If you have Luka, your team's going to be relevant for the next 10 years, like I said.
And fans are going to show up.
With AD, if this doesn't work out, a year or two down the road, they might not be a playoff team.
Dallas, the city of Dallas, if you're a Dallas fan of anything, I don't care if it's hockey, football, or basketball, this is the most fucking Dallas thing.
It's perfect.
You could draw up.
Perfect.
Hate to say it, we're Cowboys fans, but
I'm a retired Cowboys fan. I gave them up a couple years ago.
But this GM, this is some bullshit Jerry Jones would do. Jerry Jones never makes any smart moves any time. And this is the most Dallas thing ever. I guarantee the city of Dallas, I mean, there's just so many people pissed off at this guy and Jerry Jones. What a time to be alive down there.
Yeah, I think that new coach, it was Schottenheimer, I think is his name.
Yep.
I mean, nobody even knows who he is. He's the offensive coordinator that didn't even call the plays last year. I mean, if this guy doesn't go out and just kill it, he's going to get fried. People are so sick of Jerry Jones. I can't stand that dude.
I'm going on 28 years of being a Cowboys fan, and
I gave him a good run. Like, I've been a Cowboys fan since I was probably 10, 11 years old. And 2 years ago, I'm like, all right, I'm done. This is enough. I gotta move on.
Just the heartache every year, boy. It's just tough. But yeah, the city of Dallas, I feel for them because there's just some idiots running the show down there on them sports teams. I don't know how their hockey team is. Hopefully, it's not the same, and people can get behind them.
And I've been to games in Dallas before, and it's awesome. That stadium is unreal, and the fans are good. Like, it's a great atmosphere. People down there love the Cowboys, but they have not been providing much winning for them.
Yeah, there's a lot of people pissed off at the Cowboys and now the Dallas Mavericks, I'm sure. I mean,
how would you feel if you're a fan of the Mavericks right now?
I would be pissed. You just went to the finals. 7 months ago, you were in the finals, and Luka Doncic carried you there.
Yeah, he carried them there.
Carried them.
By himself. Hurt.
Couldn't win the finals, but you got there.
It's hard to let that go.
You know, people were looking at him as the next Dirk Nowitzki.
Yeah, he very well could have in his career went down as the greatest Maverick to ever play. And that's with Dirk Nowitzki being there, who is probably a top 20 player of all time, 25,
Gotta
something
be.
like that. Like
he beat the super team Miami.
Yeah, that he had one of the best years ever. Like he was a legitimate stud for a long time, and Luka could have been even better than him.
Yep,
that's what Mark Cuban said from the beginning, that he was a better player.
Mark Cuban said he came out of the statement and said he's confused over this.
Do you think if Mark Cuban was still running that this would have been done?
Absolutely
not a chance.
He
liked
wouldn't
Luka.
even have thought about it.
No. Well, he's looking at it probably more as like from a business aspect too. Like, it's not a great business move, in my opinion, to make that move.
And they even had Avery Johnson, who was the former Dallas Mavericks head coach, and they asked him, "Would you have voted for this?" And he said, "Absolutely not. That'd have been a veto as soon as I seen it."
Understandable.
So this guy's probably going to get fired if they don't win a championship in the next 2 to 3 years. Has to be. Yeah. There's no other way around it. You just got rid of a.
How does a deal like this get done though? Like, I know the GMs kind of run stuff, but one guy basically made this decision for the whole team. Like, that's a big deal. Like, I feel like this should be something the whole organization gets behind and be like, should we do this or should we not? Not one person.
Like I said, there's got to be some, and I hope details start coming out.
Nico said that there was nobody else that knew about this deal besides him and Rob Pelinka.
Yep.
That they've been in conversations for like a month about it. And it was just them two. So he made that choice himself.
There's got to be something in the next few days or the next few weeks that comes out on exactly why the Dallas Mavericks organization wasn't behind Luka. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's one thing. He comes in out of shape. That's one thing. The dude's giving you over 28, 8, and I don't know how many assists that he's got. But how the fuck do you trade this guy?
Yeah. I mean, I think you're right. If I'm a Maverick sports fan, which Luka's one of my favorite players, so I watched the Mavericks when I watched the NBA. I don't hardly watch that much anymore because it's kind of went to shit. But
it's just all 3-point. I mean, it's
kind of
entertaining
boring
anymore.
Yeah, and I mean, Steph Curry kind of started all that, and he's probably one of my favorite players too. But it's not as fun to watch. I don't feel like anymore.
But the way Steph Curry does it is he's a short guard. And what he's done to the game has transcended it.
Is he the most skilled player of all time?
I mean, he's definitely in the question. The greatest shooter by far.
It's not even close. Yeah, there's no argument.
The greatest person to create a shot. Yeah. I think him and James Harden are at the top of that list.
Mm-hmm.
What a wild time in the NBA.
Yeah.
This is the most talked about the NBA's, been talked about
For
in
years.
Years.
Yeah, it's good for them because like I said, their ratings are tanking. So maybe it'll bring more eyes to it. I stopped watching the NBA because I got sick of watching all the political shit. Like when I turn my TV on and watch basketball, I want to watch basketball. I don't want to watch these guys talk about politics.
Yeah, there's a lot of people that feel that way, and just the way that the game has changed so much and so quickly. They're going by, all the statistics and different things like that, where you got to shoot so many threes because there's a percent. They look at all the percentages and everything, and it's just gotten to the point where, people would rather see somebody go to the basket and get fouled or, they're actually to be defense played. Nobody tunes into the All-Star game anymore. The only time people would probably tune in is if Caitlin Clark would have said yes to having a three-point contest with Steph Curry. People would have tuned in for that and then quit watching it.
Yeah, I think maybe one thing they should do is cut the season down even more. It's just so many games. It's kind of like the NFL, where they got 17 regular season games now, that every game means something. You can't just give one up. Where like in the NBA, we're going to do some load management and rest our players.
The load management has killed the NBA.
It's terrible.
And Kobe used to have a saying, he's going to play every game that he possibly can because there may be a dad who worked his ass off in, a coal mine or something and spent all the money that he had to get his son a ticket, and if they show up, I'm not going to be sitting over on the bench doing a load management. And that's the way that's what made him so great.
Yeah, I think it's just different generational way of thinking. Now compared to then, people are just a lot softer. He got his mentality. I'm sure some from Michael Jordan, who was a killer. So I don't know what happened along the way, but it's gotten soft.
It really has. And a lot of people, it's not just you or I that's checked out. And I'm a big basketball fan. Like, I've always loved basketball. And
NBA was my favorite sport to watch for a long, long time before I really got into football.
Yep.
But I loved the NBA, and now I very rarely ever watch a game.
Did you see where the ratings on Christmas Day with the NFL and the NBA? That was always the NBA's day for Christmas Day games, and the one NFL game had more views than all the NBA games put together.
Yeah.
So one game outviewed 3 NBA games.
Well, one of the biggest reasons why the NFL is so big now is because, they do have a shorter season and fantasy football. Fantasy football is the number one reason why football is so big now.
Because not only are you watching your favorite team, you're watching all the other games because you want to see how your players on your team are doing.
And the NBA, with as many games as they play, you don't want to set a lineup 5 times a week. Like, you don't want to be that invested into something. So I think if they shorten the season down, it could definitely help.
Yeah, I guess we'll see.
They've talked about putting a 4-point line in. I think that's stupid.
Oh, man. We'll see what Adam Silver does to try to fix this one. But, yeah, even if you if you listen to some of the interviews with, some of the players back in the day and kind of why they think, the viewership is down, they tell you it's all about the three-point shooting and no defense being played. And, these people are getting these giant contracts starting out and they're not having to earn anything.
Yeah.
And, I'm all for people getting paid what they're worth and all that, but something's got to change to make the NBA a little bit more viewer-friendly and make people tune in and watch it.
These players make so much money now off endorsements and social media and all that stuff too. It's, a bigger percentage of their check is coming from outside sources than the NBA.
It's a showbiz. It's not basketball.
Exactly. That's exactly what it is. It's like theater. It's not actual sports.
For sure.
I want to see people go in there and battle.
I do too. The Olympics is the only thing worth watching.
Yeah.
And whenever they were playing in the Olympics and Steph Curry had probably one of the greatest basketball moments ever in the championship game where he knocked down like 5 or 6 threes in 5 or 6 possessions. That was the most fun basketball. I mean, hell, I was watching at work. The girls at the office were wondering why I was hooping and hollering because I'd watched them beat Jokic the game before, then they turned around and beat France for in Paris, and it was actually fun to watch because there was defense getting played, and there were people actually going out and giving everything that they had. We got to get back to that.
Well, people are saying that the NBA is people aren't watching as much anymore is because of the 3-point shooting and stuff, and Curry kind of changed all of that. But Curry is a killer in his own right. Like, he's not just somebody that sits back and lets shit happen. Like, he just does it in a different way.
Yep.
He does have that killer instinct, and that's why people love watching him play too.
Yeah, I mean, he's transcended what a shooting guard or a point guard / shooting guard should be in the NBA, and he's just one of those talent. We'll never see another Steph Curry probably in our lifetime.
No.
Just what he's done to the game of basketball, even going back to college at Davidson. He had some upsets in the tournament where, I mean, he was just shooting it from beyond deep.
He's such a fan favorite too because people see him and they're like, oh, that could, like, maybe I could have done that. Like, he's not much bigger than me, or he's even smaller than me, or people can relate to him.
And he's a killer on the golf course too.
People can't relate to LeBron James.
No, he's just a freak of nature.
There's nobody else built like him. Mm-mm. He could have played probably any sport he wanted to.
Could have for sure played football.
Oh, for sure. Been a hell of a tight end. Who could have guarded him?
Nobody.
He's gonna go up and get anything.
6'8" with over a 40-inch vertical. Are you shitting me?
And Duke can fly.
Yes. I don't know what his 40 time was in high school or even whenever he first got into the NBA. He was on the New Heights podcast with the Kelsey brothers, and he was talking about it, and he seems to think that he could have for sure been a tight end. And
oh, for sure. He's too good of an athlete to not be able to play in the NBA. I mean, NFL.
Yeah. I don't know what a wild time it is in the NBA, but now we got to get going to talking about the Kansas City Chiefs going back to the Super Bowl.
Yep.
That's a hot topic.
Yeah. My friends and stuff ask me, like, well, you're not, and are you a Chiefs fan now because you give up on the Cowboys? I'm like, I can't jump on that bandwagon when they're winning championships. That's not right. I can't do that. I mean, I like watching the Chiefs. I'm a big Patrick Mahomes fan. He's going to be probably in conversations with the greatest to ever play the position. So, yeah, they're fun to watch. I think people are just getting a little bit your normal not Kansas City fans just getting a little bit tired of them winning.
It's just kind of like the New England Patriots. We all went through the same thing with them. We were tired of seeing Tom Brady win. Yeah,
it's just so funny. Like, people have been shitting on them all year about them not being that good of a team, and they're barely getting by winning, and they lost 1 or 2 games this year.
Yeah,
like, how can you argue that they're not great? Just won 2 Super Bowls in a row. How are they not the favorite every single week? They should be the number 1 team in the NFL every single week.
They just have what it takes to win, and it doesn't matter. They have a bad game or whatever. They're going to bounce back. They just have that it factor that they know how to win.
And I know that they're back in the Super Bowl for the 3rd time, but this is not the same kind of team that won the Super Bowl 3 years ago. They're a defensive team now. Patrick Mahomes is, of course, outstanding, but they won a lot of their games this year because of defense, not because of what Patrick Mahomes is doing. He was pretty average, I think, as far as statistics-wise throughout the NFL this year. He's just, when it matters, he's the guy you want.
He's a winner. I mean, that's all there is to it. And they're getting ready to go up against the Eagles in the Super Bowl, who has the number 1 defense in the league, and who the Rams almost upset in the first round of the playoffs or the second round, whatever it was.
Rams are a tough team for anybody to play.
They really are, especially when Cooper Kupp and Nakua were finally healthy.
Puka Nakua is one of my top favorite players in the NFL now. I love that dude. He's just gritty, does the dirty work. He's one of the best blocking wide receivers in the league.
Just sucks whenever he gets hurt, and it just ruins a fantasy football team. It does. Gosh, it ruins a fantasy football team. Same with Cooper Kupp.
I traded for him this year. Yeah, Cooper Kupp, same way. He kind of had a down year. He's getting a little older, but
they had a shot to beat the Eagles there at the end.
Yeah, he got Matt Stafford, Cooper Kupp, Puka Nacua. They're going to give you a shot.
What did you think? You know, obviously there's lots of talk, and it seems like every time after a Chiefs game, there's always a talk about the referees favoring Patrick Mahomes.
I get so sick of that shit. They said the same thing about the Patriots when they had their dynasty going. Like, do they get some extra calls? I don't know, maybe. I don't.
They
I'm
for
not
sure get some extra calls.
They might. I'm not saying they don't, but I don't know. I just think it's a shitty way of trying to cop out from them being the greatest team in the NFL right now.
I really wanted to see Josh Allen win.
I did too.
I think
I was rooting for the Bills.
I think him and Haley Steinfeld are a way better couple than Travis Kelce and fucking Taylor Swift.
For sure. And the shitty thing about Josh Allen is, if it wasn't for Patrick Mahomes, like, he might have 2 or 3 Super Bowls right now, and he might be the one that's talked about as one of the greatest players to ever play the position.
The AFC is just so loaded with the Ravens, the Bills, and the Chiefs. The NFC, I don't see the Eagles beating the Chiefs in the Super Bowl. I mean, they got Saquon. If
you don't think?
The Chiefs' running defense, they're good.
They are. I mean, you never know what's going to happen. You got to play the games, but I don't know. If I was betting, I'd almost put my money on the Eagles.
Has Jalen
Their
Hurts
defense
won a
is
Super
outstanding.
Bowl?
That's the thing. Like, when it comes down to the last drive, you need that last drive of the game to win the Super Bowl. Patrick Mahomes is going to deliver. If you give him any chance at all, you're going to have to be up by 2 scores or something going into the final 2 minutes. That might not even be enough.
Has Jalen Hurts,
never know.
Has Jalen Hurts won a Super Bowl at the quarterback position?
No.
Nick Foles won that, right?
They got to the championship game. They got to the Super Bowl, but they lost. Nick Foles was their last quarterback when they won.
That was before Jalen Hurts?
That's when Andy Dalton had his MVP season and got hurt, and then Nick Foles finished it, won the Super Bowl.
So Jalen Hurts has yet to win a Super Bowl, and that got ruined by Patrick Mahomes. Patrick Mahomes is just ruining a lot of people's careers.
Yeah, I mean, I like Saquon. He's one of my favorite players. And
how stupid are the Giants trading him to the freaking Eagles in the division? We got to see that shit as Cowboys. Well, me as a Cowboys fan. It's like, and then you have Jerry Jones that doesn't go get brings back Ezekiel Elliott. Are you kidding me?
Whenever you got someone like Saquon who has been on a shitty team every year, your casual fan doesn't know how great he is. But your people that pay attention knew how great he is. He goes to a team like the Eagles, and now it's showing like, oh man, this guy is, Hall of Fame, first ballot, one of the best to ever play the position.
Last game of the season, the Eagles elect to set Saquon Barkley when he needed like 103 or 106 yards to get the overall scoring or the rushing record for a running back. Yeah. What do you do?
Yeah, I mean, I would probably set him too. Super Bowl means more. And one thing about that is that's also a 17-game season. So when that record was set, it was a 16-game season.
But if he would have did it, so he had less carries than what, is it Dickerson?
I'm not sure.
I want to say it was
Eric Dickerson.
I think it's Dickerson who has the record, but he had less carries than him obviously at the time.
Well, there was a lot of games that the Eagles were up so big he didn't play fourth quarter, as much, and it's not like they have a shitty, passing squad. Jalen Hurts is a good quarterback. He's above average. You got A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, like. They have a good passing core, so they don't necessarily have to lean on Saquon like some of your Adrian Peterson record years. He was the whole offense. just give the ball
Or LaDainian Tomlinson
to Peterson
too.
and let him go. Yeah, and LaDainian Tomlinson, and their great years have basically been they're the focal point of the offense. It's not Saquon doesn't have to do that there.
And he's still putting up
He's
those
still,
numbers.
dude. He breaks off more long runs, like
First play of the game.
yeah, dude. He's insane. He's so fast and strong. His legs are like tree trunks.
It just makes you sick. And I don't know how, as a Giants fan, how you would feel about it because it's just so. Oh, man.
John, what is up with these big market teams just making such shitty decisions?
I don't know.
Worked out great for Saquon.
It worked out great for him because he's finally on a winning team. I bet he's on cloud 9 right now.
Oh yeah.
What do you? Let's get back to the Chiefs and Bills game. What do you think about the catch by Xavier Worthy when it could have been either a catch by him or a pick for Buffalo down on like the Chiefs 10, and the ball hits the ground as they go down and they call it a catch, and it's like a 20-some yard completion. Well, what did you think about that?
No, it's been kind of along the same lines of stuff that's happened. People are bitching about the Chiefs. I don't know.
I mean, I don't know. Me personally, obviously, I'm not NFL rule guy, but I was always kind of under the impression if the ball hit the ground, you had to have your arm underneath the ball to consider it a catch.
That rule's changed though. I mean, the ball can't show any kind of movement. The ground can't change the movement of the ball.
And I didn't realize that, which makes sense in baseball. tie always goes to the runner, and I guess the tie of both of them catching it goes to the receiver. And it just, for me, it gives me just kind of a flashback back to when Des Bryant had that fucking touchdown and they beat the Green Bay Packers.
That was one of the years. Another one of them things, the Cowboys, that's so disappointing.
And he makes a football play and extends his arm out to get across the goal line, and they call it a fumble. And
be a catch nowadays.
100% it would be.
And if the Cowboys had won a championship that year, then what a difference that could have made for the whole franchise.
I mean,
now they're the laughing stock of the whole NFL.
Oh yeah. I mean, Stephen A. Smith, he loves it when Cowboys.
Oh yeah.
When the Cowboys are struggling, because he wants them to be good like they have been in the regular season. So
it's understandable. It's understandable why people shit on them. They cause it themselves. Bringing back Ezekiel Elliott last year was one of the dumbest damn decisions. When they paid him all that money, like 6-8 years ago, when they paid him all that money, I was like, what are you doing? You don't pay a running back that kind of money. And he was so good because we had the best damn offensive line in the NFL. DeMarco Murray was the rushing champion behind that line the year before. You could have plugged anybody in that and they would have been great. Said they decided to pay them, and then it's just been a steady. Dak's not the guy. He's a. I don't want to throw shade on Dak because Dak is a good dude. He's the kind of person you want leading your team, but when it comes down to the big clutch moments, he just does not have it. There's too much proven time and time again. He's had some decent defenses too. I wish Tony Romo could have had a defense like some of the defenses Dak's had.
Yeah, if Tony Romo was in his prime the past 4 or 5 years, I think we do win one.
I do too.
I mean, you had Amari Cooper. You're loaded. Your offensive line, nobody's touching Dak.
Yeah.
Defense is top 3. We had a top 3 defense for like 3 or 4 years in a row. Top 5 at least.
Yeah, you throw Tony Romo on that, he's going to get it done. I know he didn't win a lot of playoff games, but that guy was a stud.
He just never had a defense, and Dak has, now, let's see, who's the quarterback for the Redskins?
Jaden Daniels.
Jaden Daniels. He hit now in his first year has more playoff wins than Dak Prescott.
Oh, man. That's embarrassing. I do like that kid, though.
He's a gamer.
He's going to have to put some weight on or he's going to get hurt.
I don't know how you give first and foremost Dak $40 million with one playoff win. Then you turn around now, was he getting 60?
I think that one year he had it was the highest paid salary ever in NFL for a single year. It was like 70,000. I mean 70 million, but it was a top heavy deal. It was like 70, and then it went down to like 40 or something.
And he's just not winning you the big games. No. Like, I don't know if you can find somebody better.
Yeah, you can't go out there and find somebody better than him is the thing. So they're kind of stuck with him. I understand why they made the deal with him. I can understand what making the deal with him a hell of a lot more than Zeke.
I just don't know. I don't know what the solution is in Dallas for the Mavericks, or we'll see on the Mavericks, but I don't know what the solution is in Dallas for the Cowboys. I mean, it's just a shit show every year.
I know that the Kansas City, with Patrick Mahomes, he's the number one quarterback in the league. Hard to argue that with what he's done. But how much of that do you think is Andy Reid?
I think it has a lot to do with it. I think Patrick Mahomes can get a football anywhere it needs to go and any way it needs to be done to get there better than anybody that's ever played the position.
Yeah. The one thing think about the comparison between like Mahomes and Brady. Brady, he proved when he went to Tampa, he can go other places and win championships and be a dominant player. If Patrick Mahomes has Andy Reid for his whole career, does that maybe put a little bit of doubt or any indifference?
I don't think so because Tom had Belichick for 6 of the 7 rings.
Yeah.
And if Patrick Mahomes can get a three-peat in there and then still go on to continue to win Super Bowls, I think he's got to be right there.
It's hard to argue. We thought there would never be another player that would be able to top Tom Brady.
And then whenever he's retired,
Mahomes got a chance.
And I the comparison, I don't always like it in sports because Tom Brady was not a scramble passer.
No.
He was a pocket passer, and that was it. I will say, if you look back at some of the highlights, some of the shots Tom Brady took by some of those old like Ravens, like Ray Lewis and them.
Yeah.
I don't know if Patty Mahomes is taking shots.
Back when you could actually hit somebody.
And getting up. I don't know if he's getting up there.
Yeah, and Mahomes really isn't a running quarterback. But
he can
in the clutch time, when he needs that at the end of the game, he'll run. And he's not bad at it, but he's really not a running quarterback.
And he's not like a Josh Allen, which obviously he's not as big as Josh Allen, but Josh Allen, he'll run through people.
Yeah, I swear that dude gets like a rushing touchdown every game.
I had him, I always try to get him on at least one of my fantasy football teams because he's always putting up big numbers, him and Lamar.
Yeah, he's going to get you a rushing touchdown. I don't know, I'm not a huge fan of his, though. He just hasn't proven yet. He's won a bunch of MVPs, but you got to win championships to be considered in the greatest.
I guess we'll find out. Was that next Sunday? That'll be next Sunday, and we'll be in Florida. We'll be in Florida, hopefully at an outdoor patio bar, watching the game with a few mixed drinks.
It's supposed to be in the low 80s. Ooh, it's gonna be nice.
I wanted to bring up something. I'm trying to get it pulled up here with the drama that continues in St. Louis with the St. Louis Cardinals. I just seen this today. There was a statement made by Jim Edmonds that came out this morning, and honestly, it doesn't surprise me. You probably haven't seen it, but
I haven't. No.
I'm gonna read it out here to you.
I do kind of pay attention to the Cardinals a little bit, but I'm not a huge MLB fan.
Last year I stopped watching them because I think the Cardinals organization, as far as people in the front office, have completely tanked the team, and it's pretty much pissed off all the fans, and honestly, it's got to piss you off as a player too. But Jim Edmonds came out and said somehow the inner circle isn't the same organization. Backstory, I guess he went to spring training or wherever and went to help out the players and was like, now's not a good time. So And it used to be where as former players would come back and kind of try to help mentor. You know, they still care about the team and want to help out any way they can. And, you know, Jim Edmonds is a Hall of Famer. You know, he was arguably one of the best center fielders and, you know, one of the better hitters of all time.
Yeah.
And anyways, this statement came out. He said, somehow the inner circle isn't the same organization. It isn't fun to be around. Even the security guards are like, hey, it might not be a good time. I'm like, fine with me. I don't need to be in there if you don't want me to tell your pitchers that they're tipping their pitches or the guys pulling off. And Jim Evans pretty much says nobody cares from all the way to the top, all the way to the bottom, and everybody knows. He said, I love to walk down to the clubhouse. There's Bob Gibson listening to those guys talk in the dugout was amazing. It's sad that they're gone and everybody's moved on.
The St. Louis, the Cardinals was, you know, for the whole time I was growing up, the Cardinals were the team in St. Louis. Like, they were a baseball town.
Up until about 2-3 years ago,
Exactly.
that's how it was.
Yep.
And the fan base was just so loyal because
every game sold out.
We've been blessed with a lot of great players.
Yeah.
And our farm system has been so good for so long. And it's just gotten to the point where, you know, the Cardinals just let all these guys go that they draft and develop and pick up. And they send them off to other teams and they start having, you know, really good careers. And I knew last year we were in trouble when the general manager came out and said that we think our team's good where it's at, especially with our pitching rotation.
Yeah.
And you brought back like Lance Lynn, who you done got rid of a few years before, and everybody knew that you were just full of shit. Like you made no good moves at all.
Yeah, the Cardinals organization in the early 2000s was, we're good where we're at if we're winning championships.
Now it's not.
Yeah, now that's not the case. A lot of people have kind of fell out of love with it too.
Well,
Baseball season's a lot like the NBA. There's so many damn games.
There is. And, you know, I think we have just been spoiled with so much success.
Yeah.
And so many good players. And I think the reason that we got those good players is because we were successful and we were a baseball town, and everybody wanted to be in that environment. When they thought of St. Louis baseball, it was one of the top. You know, we were up there, maybe not with the Yankees or the Dodgers or whatever, but we were in the top.
There was a good 10-year run there when we were. That's for sure.
And, you know, there was, just packed. Regular season games sold out, you know, and this past year or two, it hasn't been that way. And every year we knew that we were in contention. We were making the playoffs. We were in contention to go on a run. Yep. And it's just not that way anymore. And I don't know what's going on with the organization, but it's fucking sad.
Yeah. It used to be, you know, everywhere you went, people just talking like, did you see the Cardinal game last night? Or, you know, how's the Cardinals doing? Or there was a lot of talk about the Cardinals, and now there's just not. When you're out and about, there's, you know, you don't see a lot of people with Cardinals T-shirts on. Like,
people are fed up with it.
Yeah.
And it's sad because
when you're used to winning championships, it's hard to.
Well, I mean, even being in the playoffs, making a run in the playoffs.
Yeah.
That's enough for people to actually stay tuned in. Mm-hmm. But when you don't make any moves, and it almost reminds me of kind of how the Dallas Cowboys are. It's just shit. You know, there's no moves made that make any sense. And there's people that want to come play for you, and you don't even reach out to them. You know, like Mark Burley, he's got farms in, you know, our area, and he was a Cy Young Award through multiple no-hitters with the White Sox. He wanted to come to St. Louis, and St. Louis wouldn't go out and get him. You know, people want to come to St. Louis, or did.
Yeah, used to.
And they just don't want to anymore.
They're not getting the free agent signings like they used to.
But that's just kind of my rant on St. Louis Cardinals baseball and kind of how it's went down the shitter.
I think baseball as a whole is kind of, you know, fallen.
Well, I wouldn't say that. Last year kind of got everybody back into it because you have a lot of international players.
Shohei Ohtani has kind of brought a lot of eyes back to the game.
Yeah, I mean he's box office from anywhere in the globe.
Yeah,
you know, and
that dude, he might be the best baseball player ever. He's definitely in the conversation.
Yeah, we'll see. He's still got plenty of years to kind of prove that. But last year, it just showed you money can buy you championships because you had the New York Yankees and you had the Los Angeles Dodgers. They had the most money in their teams, and they were in the World Series.
Yep.
And that's pretty much how baseball's become.
Yeah, it's the big market teams. They got the money to be able to pay them people. But Cardinals used to be, even that was the thing back in the 90s with the Yankees and stuff. But the Cardinals was always the ones who, their minor league stuff was so good that they could bring up players. They didn't have to go out and get these big free agent signings. They could kind of pepper them in there.
Yeah, and they were lucky to kind of get some people towards the latter part of their career that they could get for a lot cheaper than what they were probably worth, but they wanted a shot at winning
Jim
the World
Edmonds was
Series.
one of them, wasn't he?
Not Jim Edmonds. They did pick him up, but he was still in his prime. Like Lance Berkman, you had Matt Holliday.
Yeah, Holliday.
Just a lot of those guys, and I don't know. It's just a shame to see it go down the shitter the way it has the past couple of years, and there's really no signs of it improving at all either.
Yeah. Well, kind of change things up a little bit. Have you today just came out a big announcement about the tariffs on Mexico and Canada?
I had seen where Trump was going to, or he made the threat of putting tariffs on Mexico and Canada and China. It's like 25% on Mexico and Canada and 10 on China.
10 on China, yep. But today it was just announced that both Mexico and Canada have came to an agreement on a 30-day extension. They are going to spend both Canada and Mexico are going to send 10,000 troops of their own to the border to help secure the border and control the fentanyl, sex trafficking, all that stuff.
Wasn't that kind of the whole purpose of putting the tariffs on, to get
Yeah.
the border secured?
Yeah, it wasn't about trade stuff. It was about securing the border and stopping them bringing fentanyl across the border. That was Trump's big thing. He was wanting to stop the fentanyl.
Well, I'd seen some posts about, there's a thing that said, Canada's an ally and so is Mexico, and we're putting a 25% tariff on them, but then China's an enemy and we're only putting 10% on them. So I guess those people just didn't realize what the tariffs were for and trying to control the border.
Yeah, I mean, there's the reasons why, specific reasons why Canada and Mexico has got a higher tariff is because they're the ones letting the fentanyl across the damn border and all this sex trafficking stuff and all the illegal immigrants coming in through both borders.
I mean, we got Dr. Phil out there with Tom Homan making ICE arrests. I mean, what a time to be alive.
It's so wild. Yeah, but the Canada has appointed a fentanyl czar. They said a guy that's in charge of controlling the fentanyl coming across the border in Canada. They have listed the Mexican cartels. Canada's listed the Mexican cartels as a terrorist group as well. Mexico hasn't done that yet. But Canada, we're launching a joint task force, a strike force to combat the organized crime on the border.
Why couldn't Canada and Mexico just come out at the beginning and try to support the cause? Why did they have to wait for there to be a repercussion if you don't?
Yeah, they don't want to spend any money to take care of it. If we're going to let them slide by with it like we have for so long, they're not going to do anything about it until they're forced. Well, they've been forced, and now you've seen what's happened. Actions have been taken to stop it. One of the big things, Mexico too, we're sending a lot. There's a bunch of weapons being trafficked back into Mexico from the United States. The United States is the biggest, gun capital of the world. So I know that their president was mad about us sending all the guns across the border. So Trump has appointed somebody to take care of that too, to stop the illegal guns going into Mexico. Which, I mean, I don't know. We're gun people, so I don't see what the problem is with some guns.
I feel like that's the way that people who share a border should act, though. Like, why wouldn't you want to work together to keep people from being killed and, sex traffic? The fentanyl thing is insane. Like,
Yeah.
how can you make an argument that you don't want to help stop fentanyl?
So in the United States, fentanyl has killed like 250 million people.
250 million?
No, I'm wrong. 250,000.
250,000.
There we go. That's a little bit more
I was gonna say,
realistic.
that's a
I added
majority of
some
the
zeros.
population.
I added some zeros on there somehow. 250,000. 200 people a day is what's dying from fentanyl right now. So a pretty big deal. I mean, if you think about it's like a giant city that has basically been wiped off the face of the earth in the last 8 years. Like that would be all over the news. If it happened immediately.
Is it true that fentanyl got manufactured in China?
So that's the thing. And I don't understand why there hasn't been more pressure put on China. Basically, probably just because we're scared of them, honestly, because they are a big, military power. But yeah, the fentanyl is coming from China, and then the Mexicans are bringing it across the border. But it's actually being produced in China,
and it's being brought across the border from the north and the
south.
south.
Yeah, Canada and Mexico.
Canada.
I know, like, I've been on, we used to go to a lake up in Minnesota, and on one side of the lake is the United States, and on the other side of the lake is Canada. So you could literally just drive your boat across the lake into Canada. Like, it's super simple.
I just don't understand why it had to take something like a 25% tariff on certain goods to try to stop the fentanyl crisis. And it is a crisis because, like you said, 250,000 people dead. That's insane.
Yeah, it's a big city it's gone. Fentanyl's, it's a big deal, and that's why he wants to stop it.
Anything that's laced with that, if you get in contact with it, you're done.
It just takes such a minute amount to kill somebody. It's like a pinprick worth of fentanyl can kill you. That's why so many people overdose on it, because it's hard to control how much you're getting in.
Well, and
your pills
you may not
stuff.
even know that. You may not even know that you are taking it.
No, a lot of people don't. Like when we've talked about before, being in Adderall and stuff and killing people. But yeah, I think that the United States. So 75% of Canada's exports come to the United States. So basically 75% of a big part of their economy is coming to the United States. So they don't really have a choice other than to just kind of agree with the deal and try to get something worked out. They if we put a 25% tariff on them, it's going to just destroy their country, which is already, on the decline with Justin Trudeau Trudeau.
And I doubt, I wouldn't want to do that. I doubt Trump wants to do that.
No. But all they had to do, just control the fentanyl coming across the border and, start policing the border so we don't have all these illegal immigrants coming across the border. That's all he wanted. It wasn't a trade thing. It wasn't hey, you're screwing us on the trade, so we're going to do this. It was, basically we just want to stop control the fentanyl.
I wonder how much of Mexico's, I wonder how much they export into us, their businesses and all their goods. Wonder what their percentage is.
I don't know.
It's probably pretty high.
Jamie, pull that up real quick for us, will you?
If only we had a Jamie.
We don't have a Jamie.
Yeah, the tariff thing, Trump said that he's going to tariff the hell out of anybody and everybody to try to make sure that the U.S. isn't getting screwed one way or the other.
A lot of people don't like the tariffs. They're just saying, if you charge a 25% tariff on that product coming in from China, they're just going to raise the price 25%, and then it just costs the Americans more money. That's true. That is not untrue. But what it does is it forces these companies to be American made. And, the more things we can produce here in our own country for ourselves, the better. You definitely want to get some stuff, from other countries because you don't want to just alienate yourself from everybody. But, if it can be produced here and create more American jobs.
And be American made. Why not?
Yeah, and I think that's Trump's big thing. He loves the tariffs. And I'm not really even smart enough. I don't understand it a lot, but I can understand wanting to create more jobs in America.
Yeah, I mean, especially with the economy the way that it is.
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty brutal right now.
Yeah, I mean, like right now, we can't even make a damn cell phone. We can't. There's only like one provider that produces a shitty cell phone in America. We get all that stuff from overseas. So you shut that off, that's gonna put a big damper on America. Why can't we do this? We should be doing that.
Isn't it because ours would be so much higher?
Exactly.
More expensive?
Yeah, it'd be a lot more expensive. I don't know. I'd almost rather pay more personally, but I know some people can't. But
depending on how much more, we'd have to look at that for sure.
But eventually, you're going to get it down to a reasonable amount.
Once you, I guess, have all the system and everything put in place.
It would be an adjustment period, but
then you wouldn't have to worry about China spying on you.
Exactly. Now you got all your information. I don't know. I don't know how I feel about the tariffs. I do think it's a good thing for, obviously have more American jobs. Hard to argue that.
Yeah, you can't argue that point.
But we definitely don't need no more inflation. That's for damn sure.
It's been killer.
I don't know how long it would take to kind of even everything out. It would definitely be a process. It's not going to happen overnight.
Yeah, we'll see what happens with the tariffs and kind of what happens with other countries as well, because it's not just going to be Canada, Mexico, and China that's going to have tariff associated with it with Trump. It's going to be other countries, I'm sure.
One thing I do like to see is that shit's getting done at least, I know some people might not agree with everything he's doing, but at least something's being done to try to better America.
I know he said that he was going to get the illegals out, and I don't know what the numbers are up to now, but I know they had, I guess, captured over 1,000 in just one day. Illegal.
Yeah, I know there was like 1,500 like the first day they sent, and they had some press conferences and stuff about it, and one of the reporters said something like, well, half of the people that have been deported back to Mexico, Trump's big thing was he was going to go after the murderers and high level criminals first, and half of them didn't have any criminal history, but they're in the United States illegally. That, by definition, is a criminal.
Didn't the president of Colombia try to refuse?
Yeah.
He tried to refuse some of his citizens that were here illegally.
Yeah,
and then Trump say he was going to tariff them?
Yeah, he was going to tariff the shit out of them, and he had made it where they can't come into the country, and he was going to do all this stuff, and their president said, okay, well, I'll send my private jet to get the people and bring them back to the country.
His presidential plane? He was going to send them?
He sent his own plane to go get them and bring them back.
Because Trump was going to send them down there in one of the military airplanes, right?
Well, they denied them. They came back to the United States. And then they held them, and then the president from Colombia sent his own private plane to come get them and bring them back to Colombia. I don't know what all we get from Colombia, but I mean, like coffee, obviously.
Yeah. Hopefully it's not Folgers.
Surely we can figure out how to make some coffee in America. I mean, shit, there's a fucking coffee stand on every corner nowadays.
Yeah, if they can't get their coffee, that's going to put a lot of people out of business.
That is shit.
But I mean, if it's your citizen, you got to take them back. If it's your citizens, you have to take them back.
Yeah, I don't get it. The only reason you wouldn't take them back is because they're criminals. You didn't want them there.
Just release them.
Yeah. And that is exactly why Trump got voted into office to fix this problem.
I know there was a video of Selena Gomez crying over a lot of the people being deported, and she was like, it's my people that are being deported, and I guess she got a bunch of backlash, and took down the video, and
Yeah.
there's a lot of people that came out and was, talking down to her, and these people. There was other, actually, I forget. I know her first name's Joy, but she's a rapper, and she came out and said, you won't see me crying. My family was from Mexico. We came over here legally, and pretty much said that all illegals should be gone, especially the criminals and murderers and rapists. They should all be gone.
Yeah.
I don't know how you can argue to keep a criminal here illegally.
Yeah, it is kind of a touchy subject because there is people that are being separated from their families and stuff, which is horrible.
Well, and there's some people that are here that are actually doing what they should be doing.
I would say a big percentage of them probably are just people trying to better their lives that aren't criminals.
And you can't blame them for trying to
No,
better
everybody
their lives.
would. Just do it illegally. We don't. It's not like we don't want immigrants here. Like, we need those people here. They play a pivotal role in keeping our economy going, but it needs to be done legally.
And there shouldn't be killer. That's kind of like the. With Laken Riley, that guy was over here illegal. He had committed some crimes in New York. They flew him to Georgia. He committed another crime in Georgia, and then the next thing you know, he murders a 22-year-old nursing student.
Yeah.
And I know they just passed the Laken Riley Act, and there's a lot of the Democrats voted no against it. I don't know how you vote no against something like that when somebody's illegal and they're a criminal. They don't need to be out on the street. That's not safe for anybody.
No, it's the same reason, most people lock their door at night. You don't want people coming into your house that could cause harm to you or be any kind of detriment to your family. It's the same way with the border. It needs to be secure.
Yeah, for everybody's safety. Did you see, I'm not going to lie to you, this next event, it makes me a little nervous because we're getting ready to get in an airplane. Have you kind of seen what's been going on? There was a commercial plane that flew into a Blackhawk up in D.C.
That's such a weird deal. It makes no sense at all.
I had heard and listened to a few things that the United States there's like 3,000 jobs or positions that need to be filled by what are the people that kind of command with the FAA, the people that talk to the planes and keep communication.
Oh, the air traffic controller.
Air traffic controllers. I heard that, I don't know if this number's right, but that there's 3,000 positions that need to be filled because it's a job that there's not a lot of people in anymore.
Well, it's supposed to be one of the most stressful jobs of any job in America.
All the flights and everything going on.
All
every
those
day.
lives you're dependent on your decisions. Yeah.
My hair's falling out right now. I'd be bald by now if I was doing that.
Yeah, they make really good money, but it is a super, super stressful job. But even, without the air traffic controller as a Blackhawk helicopter pilot, what are you doing there?
They said that she was over 100 feet higher than what she should have been. They said she was at like 320 feet. She should have been at 200. If kind of what all the experts are saying, that she was well above where she should have been at, and she was told in the recording, like with the air traffic controller, that she was actually supposed to fly in behind the plane. Mm-hmm. And they actually asked her if she seen the oncoming, plane, and she responded yes. And about that time, flew into the commercial plane. Devastating. You had people. There was a youth group of ice skaters. All of them were killed.
Oh man!
You had 3 military people in the Blackhawk that were killed. You had people that just came back from a duck hunt or some sort of hunt out in Kansas. There was
It's devastating. Well, was there 60 something people died?
Yeah, over 60 people died.
Yeah, that is. When I heard about it, somebody was telling me, at first they'd found like 3 bodies or something. I was like, it hit a commercial airplane. There's a lot more people dead than that. And then, I guess there was 0 survivors. So, yeah, and I don't understand because like with the Blackhawk helicopter, you can go up, down, frontwards, backwards. Like, how do you run into an airplane? It just doesn't make any sense. Somebody told me that they were testing out some kind of new night vision stuff.
I'd seen where they said that, but my question is, and I guess it's really normal for them to be doing like military like training at some of these airports.
At an airport? That makes no sense.
And it's not just that one. But why? Why in the hell would you be out there doing a military training exercise where there's one of the most, I guess, used airports in the country?
Yeah. That's the Trump come out and said the same thing. Like this makes no sense. It doesn't. All the facts doesn't add up.
They said there was one that almost happened back in 2018.
Was there any kind of like? Have you heard of anybody like? Was there any special person on that plane or anything that was like a high up in government, or it could have been trying to get rid of a certain person?
I haven't heard. I'm sure somebody will come out with a conspiracy at some point.
Yeah, there'll be conspiracy theories about it. And maybe it's just a super rare accident that, there's thousands of flights that take place across the United States every year. And, it definitely, you take that chance. There's a lot of people scared to fly because of this exact reason. They say it's a lot safer to fly than it is to drive. I'm not sure how much of a fact that really is.
They were doing some math, and they said that they were like 15 seconds away from touching down. 15 seconds away from being on the ground. And, because I've only flown one time, and I don't know what the scariest part is. Personally, I would rather be on the ground and something happen.
Yeah.
Even if you're moving at hundreds of miles an hour, just because at least that way you kind of have a chance because you're skidding across pavement most likely rather than falling from thousands of feet. But
that's maybe survivable.
Yeah, maybe.
And
that's your best odds.
The other way is not survivable. I haven't seen I kind of wonder what their stock has done and stuff because. My sister we had a business trip planned down to Texas, and she had her flights booked and everything. And then that happened, and then there was another plane crash that was a weird deal that happened where people that hit a mall or something. You remember that one?
It was.
Was it in Minnesota? Maybe.
I thought it was Philadelphia.
Maybe it was Philadelphia.
But that one was different because it was it was a medical plane.
Yeah.
And
there was like 6 people on it, I think.
Yeah, and all of them were from Mexico. And this girl had just got like life-saving treatment.
Yeah. Because
I guess they didn't have it in Mexico. And yeah, so it was a medical plane, and a girl had just gotten life-saving, I guess, surgery or procedure done. And they were actually flying back to Branson to land because it was a private plane.
Yeah.
And then they were going to go on to Mexico and go back and get her with a family. And I think her mom may have been on the plane as well. Mm-hmm. But there were 6 or 7 people there, and all of them were killed in the plane crash.
Was there anybody that died in the mall?
I think there was one. There was one person who was killed that wasn't in the aircraft.
Yeah.
And the last few days with all the shit going on with airplanes, it's definitely made me a little nervous about flying.
Yeah, that's like I was kind of getting to. My sister, like I said, she was had that trip planned, and she canceled her flights and had a refund and drove down. So, I mean, she's not the only one that's going to do that. I guarantee you that the stock went down. Had to have.
Well, it was a American Airlines plane in D.C., right?
Yeah.
But I don't know how the stop. With that one, it wasn't the airplane's fault.
No.
It was the
It's
helicopter's
just bad
fault.
luck. I mean, that's the shitty thing about it. Like, you almost never hear of a commercial flight going down. Like, it is super, super rare of a commercial flight to people to die in it. It is one of the safest ways to travel. But anybody who's been on a plane, it is not natural. There is nothing natural of a human being that damn high in the air.
Well, I mean, I flew with you 2 years ago. It was the first time I'd flown. And whenever you start going up, my arms immediately went like this. It's a freaky feeling.
I've been on a bunch of flights, and I hate it every time.
But once you get up in the air, unless you're hitting some turbulence, it's not bad. But, yeah, you're not supposed to be.
You kind of forget once you get into the flight, start watching a movie or something. You kind of forget that you're even on a flight. But, it seems like it should be a lot more dangerous than it is. Then one of these deals happens like that, and then people are like, well, that's why I don't fly, is because of that exact reason right there. Well, I can't tell you how many people probably die a day in a car crash in America. Like, I guarantee it's a big number.
The percentage of people dying in an airplane and a car wreck is drastically different. Definitely different. But it's just kind of one of the, I don't know. I really hope FAA can get some more air traffic controllers, because I know on the one in D.C. there was only one working, and they were coordinating with the Blackhawk helicopter and the airplane. So you had one person. That's a two-person job all day. You should not have one person controlling both of those, especially when they're both supposed to be landing, at that point.
Yeah. And, it's one of those things where you either have to pay somebody an extreme amount of money to get the right people in there to be an air traffic controller. And it's not like flights are cheap already. They're already expensive as shit. So I don't know how they pay them people a lot more money to get more people into the positions.
And when something like that happens, I hated to see Trump come out and say something about the DEI thing. That is not the time to come out and say something like that.
Yeah.
That's
one of that's one of the bad points of Trump. He a lot of times he speaks before he has all the information, or kind of talks from his ass sometimes.
And we don't even know if the air traffic controller or the pilot, we don't know if they were white, black, Mexican. We don't know any of that information yet.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and it says in the United States, motor vehicle crashes are a leading cause of death and kill over 120 people every day. That flight killed 60-something people. And you almost never hear of a commercial flight people dying on. And there's 120 people that get killed every day in cars. But your percentage of people who drive cars compared to the percentage of people who fly every day, that's a huge difference.
A day in the
United States alone. Yeah. That's a big number. That's more than I thought it was going to be. But there's a hell of a lot more people driving their cars every day than flying. So that number is going to be, I don't know how, you'd have to figure that out.
Boy, I just hope our flights go smooth and we get down there. We just have a good time. We're going to play some golf.
I don't like flying, but I hate driving even more. So I fly.
I mean, that was going to be like 15 or 16 hours in a vehicle.
Yeah, you can't spend 30 hours driving on a 4-day vacation. It just doesn't make a lot of sense.
It is going to be the first time something to talk about goes on the road.
Yeah, the next time you hear from us, we'll be in warmer weather.
On a golf course. We'll probably have something from the house that we're at. We'll have something going on.
Yeah, flights are super expensive right now, but man, you can find a good place down there in Florida very cheap. We just got it's a 5-bedroom house in a gated community that we've stayed at before. It's super nice. They got a great big community pool with water slides and all kinds of stuff. It's huge. And the house itself has its own in-ground pool, a hot tub, and game room and all kinds of stuff. 5 bedrooms, like I said. It's a huge house. $160 a night
per person.
Yeah, how do you get a hell of a lot cheaper than that?
there's a lot of hotels that you won't get that rate on.
It's hard to find hotels under $200 anymore by the time you get all taxes and stuff paid.
We're gonna go down there. We're gonna hang out,
play some golf. I haven't swung golf club very much this winter, so
it's gonna be pretty rough.
It's gonna be a shit show. But
I was close. I was in the 80 to 82 range. I never did break into the 70s last year, but that's my goal this summer's finally get down into the 70s.
Yeah, but last year you shot the lowest rounds of your life, though, right?
Mm-hmm. I shot 80 like 4 or 5 times.
Yeah, I played less golf last year than I've played probably in 15 years.
But you also had an ankle injury that hindered you.
I couldn't play at all. I couldn't swing a golf club. Man, I've had broken bones, broke my arm in half, broken wrists, and those things heal up pretty good. But man, that ankle injury lagged on forever. I didn't think it was ever going to heal up, and it's still. I mean, I can still feel it.
Yeah, you had some ligament damage or something in there.
Yeah, so I partially tore that main ligament that goes down the outside of your ankle, and then a bunch of other little tendons and stuff. So,
and we're not spring chickens anymore. It takes a little while to heal.
No, it was a long process. I'm glad it's back to usable again. That was miserable. I'm used to playing a lot of golf.
Well, we're going to get it started a little early in 2025 here.
Yeah, 2023, I had the best year I've ever had. I got down to a 1 handicap. That was the lowest I've ever been.
That's something I only dream about.
Last year, I was lucky to be anything under 7.
But yeah, the next time you see us, we'll for sure be in Florida, hanging out down there, and after that, we got some people lined out.
Some big things happening and something to talk about. We're kind of just trying to get all the kinks worked out and kind of get everything used to talking and get conversations good and kind of learn the flow of everything and then we got some pretty good guests lined up to come on that I think you all are really going to find interesting.
Yeah, we got 2 or 3 that's going to be coming up here tail end of February, and then a couple they're right at the beginning of March. We've got a lot of different topics we're going to discuss. And
are we gonna tell them kind of what they got to look forward to, or are we just gonna wait?
we as you know, in some of our previous podcasts, we've kind of brought up the Missouri Department of Conservation. We got one of the local conservation agents. He's going to come in March, and that'll be a few weeks before turkey season starts. So we're going to talk to him kind of as a biologist and a conservation agent, kind of what he thinks going on with the turkey population and kind of the habitat changes. And also a big topic is going to be CWD.
Yep.
And, I mean, that's a hot topic in pretty much every Midwest state, right?
Even EHD, too.
Yeah, EHD. We're going to be talking to him about a lot of the rules and regulations in Missouri, whether you like them or not. He's going to kind of give his opinion on it. And there's going to be a lot of questions, and it's going to be nice to talk to somebody that works in the field.
Yeah, get their side of conservation and what they're seeing, kind of moving forward. Let people kind of figure out what we're going to be able to do to make this better as a group of hunters, what we need to be doing or what we're doing wrong, how to fix some of the problems that has arose in the hunting industry in Missouri.
I know that I'm going to have a lot of questions on the CWD topic.
Yeah.
Like the eradication of deer. I mean, I have yet to speak with anybody from the conservation on it, and I'm really looking forward to hearing their side of it.
For sure.
And kind of figuring out.
Conservation has done a lot of great things. Like, it's hard to argue that. I mean, if you look at what happened to the deer population, elk population, turkey population, the whitetail deer were almost extinct in the United States until the conservationists took over and brought the population back from the brink, and now it's thriving. So, I mean, it's not like we're shitting on the conservation all the time. Like, they do a lot of great things.
But just like anything, some of the not everything that they do is great.
No, there's
there's
definitely
always going to be there's always going to be positives and negatives with people that are in charge of a big industry like that. I mean, and hunting is a big industry.
Yeah, it's a business. That's for damn sure.
It really is. And then we have another guest who I personally know. She's going to be calling in from D.C. She works in weapons of mass destruction. She was just in a documentary on UAPs, which
right up my alley.
Yeah, we're really looking forward to that one.
Yeah,
and
that was going to be fun.
And she was a medium, and she is a medium. So there's going to be some.
Got a lot of questions about that. I know almost nothing.
Yeah, there's going to be that one. I would say is probably going to be our longest podcast to date for sure.
Kind of figure out where the intersection between medium and religion.
Yeah,
kind of works. That's kind of an interesting topic we might want to think about.
That one's going to be a long conversation just because there's going to be so many questions that we'll have. And, she's said that she'd be more than happy to come on and support the podcast and talk to us. And,
yep.
She's probably the most interesting person I personally know, just her career field and also the other extracurricular activities that she does.
Her hobbies.
to be honest with you, I didn't even know that she was involved with UAPs and stuff until she posted that she was in that documentary.
Super interesting.
I mean, it's going to be a fun one. Like everybody, if you tune in for that one, you're really going to like it. We'll of course have some posts out and stuff, so you can. So we have a time frame on when that one's going to go live because that's going to be a big one, and I'm looking forward to it.
We got lots of ideas. There's definitely a lot of room for growth, and we haven't really promoted much stuff yet. We're kind of waiting to get some material out there and work out the kinks, and we get these guests going, and we're kind of going to just put it out there for everybody, and hopefully people like it and it starts picking up steam. I know it's not going to happen overnight, but it's fun. I'm enjoying what we're doing so far. It's a good time.
In the topics that we talk about, there's a lot of other people that are talking about them as well. So
exactly.
I mean, it's going to be one of those things where there's going to be a lot of people that may like what we say, and there's going to be a lot of people that probably won't like what we say. But we like talking about interesting things, and hopefully.
We don't want to get too political. I mean,
yeah,
I don't like having the back and forth to where I don't want to just like shit on one side or the other. We want to kind of bring content that's kind of down the middle and see both sides of everything. That's why, like with this conservation guy, we want to see his side of where the conservation kind of stands on hunting. And, we have our side from a hunting standpoint as a hunter. So, I mean, I think it's going to be some good watching.
And I hope it, just kind of like you were saying, I have a lot of things that I don't like with the conservation. I'm hoping talking to a guy that works in the field and has worked in the field for a while, hopefully it can kind of give me a new perspective on a few things and kind of what they see and what they're trying to do as, as a whole better for the, all the wildlife.
Well, either way, we're going to be more informed. We're going to learn stuff, and the public will too. I mean, there's probably a maybe that there is some feelings towards the conservation as from a hunting perspective, because you're always trying to follow the rules. So it's, it's like somebody that's policing you and you don't want to mess up. So you're kind of scared of that, but if situations like this where they have the opportunity to come and connect with the public and kind of show, hey, we're just people too, trying to keep this thing going and making sure that you have a healthy deer herd, healthy turkey population, trying to make things better in the right ways.
Yeah, and they're going to give us a science perspective on it too.
Exactly, yeah.
And that's something that I don't feel like we necessarily get. I mean, I should probably do a better job at reading more on the science side of it. I just kind of look at it as a hunter and conservationist myself and kind of seeing what I think is what makes the most sense.
Mm-hmm.
To me, and kind of what we see being out where we're at on our own farms and kind of talking to everybody else from other states and areas in Missouri, and it's just going to be nice to get an opinion from somebody who is qualified.
Lives it.
Gives a good opinion.
Yeah, lives it every day, and it's always different perspective on somebody when it's their career, than seeing stuff kind of from the outside view.
But that's gonna wrap up episode 4. We're for sure excited to get kind of going here. We're starting to get the audio and everything a little bit better. We got a
new table.
Yeah, we got the new table here.
I built us this table here the other day. Y'all don't know, I'd done a lot of woodworking stuff through the last 10 years or so. This is a solid hickory, 1.5 inch thick. Put some emblems on the front of it.
Just got her packed in tonight.
Yeah, she's fresh.
Yep. It definitely looks a lot more professional than my $30 black table that we had the first few podcasts on. But no, it turned out great. It's I don't know, it just feels nice to have something in here with the logo and the pod title on it.
Oh yeah, get this thing rolling. We might have to make some T-shirts and hats and shit, and
for sure
get them out.
I don't know. We're just really excited. We hope that you guys will like kind of the first few podcasts that we've released here, and we're hoping to bring a couple more here before we start having some cool guests on.
Yeah, excited. Looking forward to the future.
Well, that's going to be a wrap on podcast number 4. Until next time.
Y'all have a good one.